Welcome back to RP Radio, and I'm your host, Wade Rosspeace, and I'm joined by my friends Keegan Ehlers and John Baldacci. This is normally a trendy gaming news, what are we playing podcast, but today, this episode, and maybe episodes in the future, we're going to be doing things a little differently. Today, we're going to be discussing at length a video I already posted, but I wanted these podcasts to maybe in the future be a dissection of some of the themes and ideas that I talk about in my videos. That way, you know, they make a little more sense in case I missed something or forgot about something. Just a general discussion about the video, get some outside perspective on the topic. And I'm going to be having a new video up this week as well, so next episode will probably be about that. And yeah, we're just going to be trying this out. Let us know what you think about this new format, if you prefer the old one, if you prefer this one, if you like this being a little bit more on brand for the channel, if you like the more human discussions, let me know. But as I said, I'm joined by my friends Keegan and John. Keegan, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Wade. Still a supporting character in your story, but I'm still doing great.
John, how are you?
Well, I've been upgraded to main character, and you are now a side character, so I'm doing pretty alright.
I didn't hear you open this podcast, John. So, like I said, this is going to be more of a discussion about a video I already posted, specifically the Hope Punk in the Age of Nihilism video. It's a video that I've always been it's something that began after me hearing about the word Hope Punk. I believe it was around the time Death Stranding had that full reveal where they showed the release date and everything, that I saw someone on Twitter just say, like, Hope Punk is real, or this is proof, or something like that, and I kind of just jotted that down in my notes, like, maybe I should talk about this at some point. Lo and behold, I talked about it. Can you guys believe it?
You did. You talked about it for an hour.
Well, I talked about it for, like, 20 minutes.
Oh, was it? I don't remember how long.
I was going to say, it's not that long.
It would have taken me a lot longer to make that video if it was an hour long.
Hey, you never know.
I've been thinking about going back to the format of, like, growing up with gaming, of just having, like, 2 or 3 videos about one thing, which is actually something I'm thinking about doing for my next video.
I'd enjoy that.
Teaser. Which is also about a serious topic in the gaming industry, like the Growing Up with Gaming series, which I recommend you check out, so you know what I'm talking about, especially because it's a little weirdly relevant these days. But yeah,
weirdly relevant.
Yeah, Hope Punk in the Age of Nihilism. I talk about something I refer to as the Age of Nihilism, that we live in the Age of Nihilism, because, like, you guys know the Area 51 memes, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's a common theme you see across the Area 51 memes?
Girl waifus?
Yeah.
No. Like, I was hoping you'd say, well, the idea that, like, everyone might as well do it because we all want to die anyway.
Yeah, like, you can't stop us if all of us can go in. Can't stop all of us.
Like, let's just
stop a few,
trample over the bodies of the Kyles, and if we get shot, oh well, at least we died for something. Just that whole idea of just, like, may as well die. That was kind of where some of that was born from, because it's like, man, why are all the memes these days about wanting to die? It's like, it's funny.
Mr. Meeseeks.
Like, it's funny, but it's like, why is it funny? So I wanted to explore that a little bit, of just like how memes are often representative of a cultural mind space or mindset. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I'd say so.
And I also looked at, like, Game of Thrones. You guys like Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Everything except for the last season.
Yeah, I loved everything up till about season 7.
Season 6 was so good.
It was.
Like, that was the season I caught up on.
Same.
Like, that was the season where it was like, yo, season finale's coming up, you better catch up. And so I just binged the whole thing just in time for the season 6 finale. It was just like,
I binged it in a month.
Holy crap.
What happened in season 6 again?
Battle of the Bastards.
The green fire.
Yep.
Okay.
The big boom.
Oh, yeah.
Jumping out the window.
It was just, they took, like, a year off between seasons, so...
Yeah.
It was
I think that's one of the reasons why season 8 was so disappointing. It was just like, we waited all this time for this. But yeah, like, Game of Thrones is a show that's all about how crappy life is and how life doesn't, abide by the same rules of drama that movies do, even though the final season may disagree with that.
Yeah, just shows how dark and gray life is.
Yeah, the whole point was like life takes no prisoners. It doesn't matter who you are, death will find you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how does a show like that get insanely popular if it's not resonant, at least a little bit, within the society it's popular in?
Yeah.
And
I
was
mean,
like,
also there's a lot of blood.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I was also getting super into Berserk. I'm like, man, I love this show, but why do I love Berserk so much? And
Yeah.
John's watching Berserk.
I currently am, yes.
Another friend finished Berserk a while ago. He watched the remake movies too. Oh man, like the remake movies are good when they're not in 3D, when they don't do 3D animation, which is
You mean CG?
Yeah.
Oh god, I have not seen a good CG anime
No.
besides Algene.
Like I don't care. Like for me, it's like I will never watch an anime that's only in 3D. I just won't. Like I don't like it because I remember I had like a Knights of Sidonia.
Yeah.
And that was new. That was recommended to me, but I'm just like, nah.
Did you watch the Godzilla anime on Netflix?
No, I didn't.
The trilogy? That 3D wasn't bad, but I mainly watched it for the story and Godzilla because I love Godzilla stuff.
Yeah.
But
It's definitely
the
not.
CG in it wasn't bad. It wasn't the worst I've seen.
But it's still not preferable to 2D animation.
No, especially when most animators go to that now. When it's like, oh, I don't want to animate an entire fight scene. Let's just put it in CG.
If you the rigorous production.
Yes. Oh yeah.
It's like and budgeting. It's like I get why CG exists, but I don't like it. But I get why it exists. But then you see a show like the 2016 Berserk, where basically the whole thing is CG, and it looks terrible. Yeah, I don't know. It looks terrible. Like
it does.
Regardless of why and whatever, it just looks totally awful. But and so like I was watching the remake movies, and it's a shame, like that they don't go past. But when they were in 2D, I was like, wow, this is really a really interesting way of experiencing this again, and it kind of feels like a fresh new take because they also add stuff from the manga that wasn't in the original adaptation. I was like, this is pretty nice. And then the CG stuff happens in the movies, and you're like, so like, it makes it hard to recommend because you're like, well, I wouldn't really recommend this. That's why the 1997 show is still the one you recommend people, because it's like this is pretty. It doesn't have everything from the manga in it. It doesn't have some really big moments from the manga in it, but it's the purest, most well-made version of that. It's the most well-made adaptation yet. Which is kind of sad, but that's how it is. But Berserk, I really recommend. But it's an example of something that a lot of people colloquially refer to as grimdark, or just dark fantasy, like Game of Thrones, where it's just something that's super unrelenting, super harrowing, super just like life sucks, everything sucks, people die in terrible ways. If you got attached to this character, you suck. You're dumb. Why did you do that? So and like, there's definitely room for stories like that.
I mean, talking about this, I know we talked about this being one of my favorite games. I don't know how much you or John played it. Kind of reminds me of Knights of the Old Republic 2, because it really walks that line of being Grey Jedi and how you're pulled towards being the light side of the Force, but the mentor Kreia is very like, well, the Force is kind of just crap. Everyone's gonna die. Like, it doesn't.
There's a lot
really
of just
matter.
morally ambiguous stuff too. Not even just like dark, but just everything's so morally ambiguous these days.
Yep.
And I was watching a video by a creator named H Bomber Guy. He's someone I kind of look at as a source of inspiration because his videos are just super well researched and super well thought out. And it's just like, oh my god, I got to step my game up after watching this. And he did a video about The Killing Joke, about the movie adaptation. And it was about how a lot of people got the wrong idea from edgy stuff in the 80s and 90s. How like a lot of people, he talked about specifically about like creators like Todd McFarlane and like some other edgy comic book writers and illustrators in the 90s, how they looked at Watchmen, they looked at The Dark Knight Rises, and they went, ooh, that's cool, but they didn't actually think about why it was cool. You know, I think he even had a line like, "It's ironic that their brand is called Image Comics, considering that they're all about, surface level depth, and there's no actual, like it's all on the surface, and there's no actual depth to it. It's just edgy for the sake of being edgy." And there's a really great clip of Todd McFarlane, and I think it was the original creator of Deadpool. They're doing an episode of a show with Stan Lee, and basically what they're doing is they're drawing a character. Like, basically Stan Lee gives them a name of a character, and it's their job to like just come up with the character's design, like to illustrate the character, come up with their backstory in like 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. And of course they draw this guy with just like huge broad shoulder, like he's just a total beefcake. He's got like chains, and he's like half cyborg, and it's like this very, very, very edgy 90s character, like what you would think when you think 90s edge. Like it's like a cross between Spawn and Cable, named like Overkill. It's like, and in like a lot of the like, what's his backstory, whatever, he's like, well, he's half man, half machine, and that gives him a lot of sadness. And it's like, that's about as far as that goes. It's like, okay, well, that tells me. And like when you watch Watchmen, have you seen Watchmen?
Yes, I'm excited for the
TV show, the HBO series.
I'm pretty excited for it. It looks really good.
A lot of the stuff is messed up, but it's like, it makes you think about society as a whole. It's not just like, oh man, this character's so tragic. It's like, yo, what, like.
Have you seen The Good Boys on Amazon?
Or just The Boys? Or
The Boys, sorry, yes. Not good.
Yeah, I watched the whole series. I wanted to bring that up, but I was watching it as I was editing it, so I'm like, well, it's a little too late to write this in now. And
yeah, but I mean, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it yet because I canceled my Prime, long story short. But from what I've gotten from it, is it's very like it shows the other side of like, okay, yeah, superheroes are superheroes, but like, here's actually what happens. Like, in one of the trailers, I hope this isn't, spoiler alert maybe. I don't know, but it's
if it's in the trailers, I don't care that much.
It's in one of the trailers where it's the dude who's fast and this guy's with his girlfriend, and he just run by and basically just
he doesn't run by, he runs through.
Yeah, he runs through her, and her body disintegrates, and it's literally her hands holding on to his, and the guy's like, "Oh, sorry," and then you're like, "What?"
Yeah,
like it shows like really kind of like the actual like just because superheroes do good and do everything like that, there's also a downside to it.
If you watch the show, it goes a little deeper than that. It's like, yeah, they do really dumb and messed up things, but there's some underlying issues why. It's like it never excuses, but it makes you understand. That's the thing I like about The Boys, is like, what this person did is totally inexcusable and unforgivable, but by the end of the series, you start to feel bad for them at times, because like they start to get their comeuppance, and you're like, well, now that we know all this context about them, like it's good that they're getting what they deserve, but at the same time, you're like, man, this just sucks in general, no matter who you are. And so, like, there's a character called The Deep, who does something toward the beginning of the series that's just like,
right away.
It's just like, I don't know how I could ever forgive you for ever doing this. And then by the end, you're just like, oh man, that sucks. Like, I feel bad for you, but I also don't feel bad for you at all. It kind of makes you feel weird, but like, there's a lot of moral ambiguity. But I read the comic that it's based on, and it's just edgelord trash. It's like, I tried getting into it. I'm like, this is too much. This is just.
Well, there's even some things that like, and yeah, when you do a TV adaptation or whatever, even if you're on HBO or whatever, they tend to
go all out.
No, not go all out. Relax things a bit, because there's some stuff that you just can't show because it's just,
there's stuff even in the comic that they probably weren't going to touch.
Yeah, but it's just like straight up porn,
yeah,
or whatever. So, like, I know specifically what you're talking about, and it's one of the first things that happens.
No, I'm talking about something else in the comics that isn't in the show.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's pretty early on, and I was just like, nah, I'm not into that. Not watching, or not. I'm not gonna read this.
Okay, but there was a part in the show that was also in the comics.
Yeah.
And in the show, they're just
it's way worse in the comic.
Yeah, they're like pan away, whereas in the show they're like, we're going to show the entirety of this.
You mean in the comic?
Or in the comic, yeah. Sorry.
In the comic, it's that scene in particular is way worse.
Yeah, no,
But I mean, like you're saying, you know, in the comics or, you know, comics, books, manga, you know, a lot of the source material comes from that. They kind of have that freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, Berserk especially, like, there's some stuff that's not in the 97 adaptation that's in the manga, and it's just like, holy crap, I don't even know if you could do that even if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. It's the same thing with, like, I mean, Tokyo Ghoul being one of my favorite anime. I've been reading through the manga, and there's so much stuff cut out and added in and stuff like that.
And even the anime was censored.
Oh, yeah. But and you know how edgelord that is? I mean, I remember there's a part in the manga that wasn't in the books where I got my girlfriend to watch it. Or in the manga that wasn't in the anime, where one of the guys who's called the Gourmet.
Are you sure you want to say this on a podcast that's not...
I mean, it's not really spoilers. It's just kind of a quick thing where basically...
is it like gore?
No, not.
Okay. I was like, if we're gonna talk about like a gory moment that was censored, let's at least have a content warning.
Yeah, I mean, you could take it as it is. I mean, if you guys don't want to listen to it, just skip ahead maybe. But there's a part where basically a guy who's called the Gourmet eats only gourmet parts of humans, and he eats this girl's eyes. And she's like running out like, I can't see, in the middle of the street. People are like, well, what the heck? And it's like, that wasn't in the anime, but in the manga, it was like, it wasn't really graphic. He was there, and then it cuts to like her being out there with like, you know, it's black where her eyes.
The Gourmet is in the show, right?
Yeah, I remember
being super underwhelmed by that character in the show. That's probably why they didn't show as much as they probably could have.
He's a lot better in the manga because they kind of give him more so of he ends up like, you know, besides going after the main character, because
he's an actual subplot.
Yeah, he actually
substantial subplot to it.
Starts to be like, okay, you're more than just a meal. You're actually a person who I can follow.
He became vegetarian. Dude, the first episode of Tokyo Ghoul is so good. Just that feeling of utter panic and dread of just like, my life is forever changed now, and I did not want this to happen.
Yeah,
you know, I love like, that moment. It's just like when he goes home and he's just like legit like vomiting, you know, he's just like, oh god, I don't know what. It's
trying to force feed himself human food.
You legit feel that where you're just like, oh my god, this is terrible. It's so good. That's that's probably my favorite part of the entire show, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like his life basically gets turned completely upside down, and he has to basically rework his entire life and the way he thinks about stuff and goes about things.
I love that moment. Just holy crap. But yeah, like, dark stuff has its uses. Like, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Why does dark stuff appeal to you? Like, why does like Game of Thrones, why does Berserk, why does Tokyo Ghoul, why does really messed up stuff appeal to you?
So, you know, it really depends on the kind of mood that I'm in.
Obviously. But like when you watch something in Berserk and you're like, that was messed up. Awesome. You're like, or like not even awesome, but like, that was really good. Like, oh my god, I'm feeling so many things. Like, why does that feel like, why does that entice you?
Okay, so this is kind of relevant to that meme we were talking about earlier, how people were like, you know, storm Area 51 because we want to die kind of thing. You know, it's part of the, like, you know,
life sucks.
Like feeling an emotion regardless of what that emotion, and I'm not like, I'm a fairly, you know, happy person. I have a wide variety of emotions. We often jest that you don't get Evangelion because you're not depressed. Yeah, exactly. So
you don't get it why it's special.
But like, you know, there's a part of it where you're like, you know what, my life sucks, but at least that didn't happen.
I talk about that in the video where I'm just like, maybe it's sort of like an escape. Like, the reason why people tell those stories is so you can better appreciate your own life and go, well, at least I'm not living like, holy crap, I would never want to live there. And you start looking at your own life a little differently.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it just plays into part of that, and as well as, you know, there's not everything can be happy all the time because that's boring.
Yeah.
You need a wide array of things that you're experiencing. And, a part of, like, for example, in Game of Thrones, you're still rooting for people.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, you shouldn't.
Like, Jaime
become
Lannister's a
attached.
terrible human being, for
Oh,
most
he
of the
was one of my
show,
favorite
but by the end,
characters.
you're like, oh man, I really hope things go well for him, even though he's done some terrible things.
Yeah, exactly. So
Redemption.
you're rooting for people. You're like, I want them to overcome these trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
And when they don't, you're super pissed off because you were, very engaged with that character. But it's way more memorable than...
And it's life.
Yeah.
It's
but
like, well,
way more
not everyone gets the happy ending. Not everyone gets to
Exactly.
redeem themselves. Not everyone gets the fairy tale ending.
Now, there are some times when it's done where it's poor because...
Where it feels like a big
happens.
middle finger.
Well, less of that and more of a... You just feel unsatisfied. So you have to play it a certain way, and I'm I'm not a good writer or anything like that, so it's definitely up to whomever's writing it. But there are some times where a character could die and not accomplish one of their goals, and instead of you being upset that they didn't accomplish that goal, you're more upset because it just felt like
it was wasted.
Yeah, like,
Well,
why
for
did we
me-
spend all
yeah.
this time with that character?
I hate it when something ends. Like, bittersweet endings are really hit or miss with me, because sometimes I just feel empty about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, like, I just didn't get that payoff that I want. Not in the, like, I still get that payoff a little bit, but not in the way I wanted. I think about the ending of Your Name. Specifically.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Oh, yeah.
man, like, great ending, things are great, but God, I wish things would have been a little different. At
See,
least
and I love the ending of that movie.
well, yeah, it's
so.
beautiful, but it's at the same time, it's just like, man, my heart hurts because they
Yeah.
didn't get that immediate payoff. Not to spoil things, but it's just like, man, I wish that would have happened a little sooner.
That's why I like a silent voice.
Yeah,
Better than
it's
Your Name.
very conclusive. Like, when it ends, all of the threads are tied up, where things will
Yep.
go in the future, more
You're not
than likely.
speculating.
There's no room for, like, oh, maybe this will happen. It's like, this happened. That was the ending.
Yep.
But I was going to
mean-
say that I didn't want to speak for you guys, but I think a lot of the appeal of dark fiction is that it's the appeal of any art where it just makes you feel something. It makes you feel a way that you didn't think that art could make you feel. I think that's why The Last of Us was so impactful when that came out. It was just like, this game is fun, but I'm not fun at the same time. Like, like, I'm killing people and I feel like it's fun, but at the same time I feel bad about it. Like, what's going on here? I'm feeling things I've never felt before playing a game. And so, well, obviously other games had done stuff like that, but Last of Us was the first, like, major scale, like, everyone pay attention to this moment where it's like, holy crap, video games can do this.
Yeah.
Especially at that ending.
Oh, yeah, I remember, I forget where the quote was, but I read about Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, the co-directors of that game, and they said they watched No Country for Old Men.
Okay.
And they
great
said that,
movie.
like, why do games just lack subtlety? Like, why do all video game stories just lack any sort of nuance or subtlety whatsoever? And so their goal from the beginning was just like, we just want to tell a story that doesn't have the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Like, that's literally the only thing we're trying to do, is just have a little bit of subtlety and nuance to a video game story. It ended up being this groundbreaking work of art.
It's the thing where it's a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's
when that ending happens, you're just like, huh, I don't get it. And then you think about it for the next day, the next week, the next month, and you go, that was actually genius.
Yeah, it's those games that really make you think, like, you played it, you beat it, you're at first you're like, oh, this is cool, and then it gets brought back up, and then it makes you start thinking about it again.
Because I think
and
John
then you're
was
really like,
John was in the room when I beat The Last of Us. I'm pretty sure you and another friend were in the room when I beat The Last of Us. You're like, so what do you think? And I was just like, I don't know what to think.
I don't think it was me. It might have been Seth, because Seth finished it first.
I know Seth was definitely there. But I think you were there too, because I don't know why Seth would be at my house and you wouldn't be. No offense to him, but
Yeah, I guess I'm not. I don't really remember. I my last real good memory of that game was when I finished it. So
I just remember when I got it, and you were texting me like, "How far are you?" I'm like, "I'm here," and you're like, "Oh, by the way, this person dies," and I was like, "Oh, thanks, thanks, John."
did I spoil something like
The
that?
the first death.
Oh, okay. Well,
And you're like, "Well, it's the first thing that happens." I'm like, "I literally just got the game." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know."
okay.
She's like, "Oh, she's not even on the cover." I'm just like, "Well, I don't,
Okay.
I don't know."
Then I doubt it was a, hey, by the way, this person dies. It was probably more of a, hey,
So this person
what
died.
What did you think when that person died?
Yeah.
It was like me accidentally telling a friend that another route existed in Fire Emblem. It was just like, I thought you knew! Like,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, that could be the only thing I would think of, because I don't feel like I would just straight up be like...
I mean, I still cry every time I see that scene, so it's not like it's not like it ruined it for ever my entire life, but it was still something at the time. I'm like, damn.
I mean, yeah. So going back to kind of your main your question. I mean, I agree with both of you how it does elicit those different emotions from each of us. A big thing that I get from it is it's taboo. You know, it's the stuff you don't you're not.
You wouldn't
supposed
recommend
to think
a family
about.
member.
Yeah, you're
but
not.
But when it
supposed to
happens,
talk
you're just
about,
like, it feels like your own little special thing. Like, ooh,
yeah, like
I can't recommend this to anybody
different.
because this was really messed up.
Yeah, it's like you don't sit there and you think about it or something like that, like stuff, or it's like you see bad stuff happen in the world, and you're like, oh, that's really different. That's really weird. And then
that's
that's
why I love
when you're
Berserk.
doing
It's
that.
like, holy crap, I can't believe something exists that's doing this. And it's been out since 1990. Well, like, the manga started in 1990, but like this show is in 97. So when I suggest this show to friends and they get to that ending, they're just like, what? What? They can't do that. It's like, yeah, they just did that. In a flashback, they did that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's very different from the norm, and it makes you. It's a different outlet for you to be able to really, like you said, elicit feelings that you don't normally think about or think you even had, and it brings you a weird type of emotion.
Well, and I think like going along the lines of like, it feels like your own little special thing because you wouldn't normally recommend it to people. I think that's part of it, is like, it's this thing that almost builds camaraderie of just like, you've experienced this thing with me. Like, we've all experienced this thing, this harsh event together, and we all know how we feel about it. And so we can kind of commiserate about it, you know? So like when we watch the ending of Berserk, we can go like, oh, but what about, oh, no, you know what I mean? Like, you just form a discussion in a community about this. You share this journey together with all these different emotions, and it feels like you legit had a bonding experience with everyone who's seen that thing.
I know, and then you do get that feeling where you're like, I gotta get it out. I gotta talk to someone about it. I gotta, be like, what was your takeaway? And then it opens up other avenues to be like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Or like, it also, there's so much art I always consider Evangelion and Berserk to be two sides of a coin, where it's like, they're both, have some dark material, but one has a hopeful ending, whereas one has a very depressing ending. I mean, they both have depressing elements, but Evangelion ends on a more, like, uplifting note, like...
lighter note.
Yeah, like, hey, life doesn't have to be terrible, whereas Berserk is just, life is pain, everyone sucks.
Life is meaningless.
Well, the whole message of Berserk is that people can be just as bad, if not worse, than fairy tale monsters. That's, like, the whole message of the show. Whereas Evangelion is more about, like, recovery, like, understanding other people and opening up and, understanding yourself and other people and, understanding that the world isn't as scary as it seems. So it's like complete opposite messages in a way. And so that's why I wanted to bring up both Berserk and Evangelion in my video, but I do harp more on Evangelion because the video is about hope punk. It's about, a specific subgenre of science fiction that uses a specific set of rules to tell an ultimately uplifting story rather than a depressing story. Hey, maybe at some point in the future we'll get hate punk, where it's grimdark but it's sci-fi. But I guess that already exists since like The Mist. The Mist, I'd say, would be like hate punk.
Oh,
where it's like life sucks. Yeah, life sucks. Like that ending is such a gut punch.
there is no hope.
Yeah, even
Like,
when there
you're
is
sitting
hope,
there.
everything
Yeah, there's
like you'll
nothing.
never like there's no turning back from the person you became when there was no hope. Is kind of the
Yeah.
message of that. But yeah, Sam Witwer. Obviously, most people's introduction was Force Unleashed. But
Was the original Myst was before Force Unleashed, wasn't it?
yeah,
the
but I'm
movie?
saying like most people's
Yeah,
introduction
yeah.
because he was very much a supporting character in that.
Yeah.
He was actually supposed to be a supporting character in The Walking Dead in season 1.
Really?
Because when Rick, when he goes to the city and he gets into that tank, the soldier that attacks him in the tank is Sam Witwer. And so, but Sam Witwer said that there was an episode they cut because the first season is actually like shorter than the other seasons. It's like 8 episodes rather than like,
Usually
Yeah.
it is.
and so he said there was a cut episode that was all about him and how he got to that tank, that moment where he encounters Rick as an undead. But they said like it just wasn't cohesive with the overall narrative because it's like why should we spend an entire episode about some random
Rando.
soldier, that is only in one episode, 1 or 2 episodes. So he said, yeah, I understand why the episode got cut, but it was still, a shame that I could have been a more major character in The Walking Dead, even if it was for 2 episodes. But yeah, Sam Witwer is so talented.
Dude, he voices so many different characters.
Well, he has a
in,
band.
like Star Wars stuff.
He has a band,
Oh, yeah.
too. I listened to, like, his latest album. I'm like, I know this guy's a voice actor, but man's got pipes. Like, holy crap. Dude can sing.
Was he in that Supernatural TV show? Was he a vampire?
I forget.
Wolf?
It was like Being Human, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, he was like a vampire. So I remember, like, I forget what he said, but like, he said he had the first biracial gay kiss on TV or something like that. Like
Wow.
on that show, which is like, kind of like we're starting to get a little deep for these first time records, but still, it's like Sam Witwer has been in a lot of stuff and has been a part of a lot of like groundbreaking stuff, whether you know it or not. He's usually like if Sam Witwer's a part of something, it's like, all right, this is probably going to be good.
I mean, look at his most recent stuff, or literally this year.
I mean,
with
even Days Gone got like mixed reviews, but as time has gone by, I've seen a lot of people come out in defense of that game and say they really like it. So it's definitely a game I want to try before the year ends because I know I'd probably like it. It's just been there's so many games. I've heard the story in Days Gone is really good, at least.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it.
Yeah, same. It feels bad because it's a big PlayStation exclusive that I haven't played. But yeah, Sam Witwer didn't really intend on getting a whole thing, a whole talk about Sam Witwer, but dude, I just admire the dude, and he's on Twitch. He's usually playing like RPGs and Star Wars games. He plays a lot of Battlefront 2.
Yeah, he always like I always see I follow him on Twitter, and I always be like, oh, we're gonna play, Force Unleashed for a couple hours,
Yeah.
and I was like, how weird would that be to be like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna play in a video game.
I watched Troy Baker and Nolan North play through Uncharted 1. And it was Nolan North's first time ever playing through an Uncharted game all the way from beginning to end. And so it was kind of a trip, him going through each scene and be like, oh, I remember this. We had to do this. And they brought a real Jeep on set and all this. And it was our first time doing anything like this. So we worked way harder than we needed to because in Uncharted 2, we didn't have any of this stuff because they realized we didn't need it and stuff like it was like really interesting seeing those insights. Because like, there was never a moment where he's just like, this is weird seeing me on screen or whatever, because like he's an actor, he's used to it. Even myself when I'm editing my GameStop TV videos, it's just like I'm no longer myself. I'm just I'm just editing a video that just so happens to have me in it. I might cringe at how my hair is in one frame, but other than that, I'm whatever. I recorded it, not gonna reshoot it. So, but yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. But getting back a little bit on topic, Hope Punk, I saw as a direct counter to that whole dark fascination with dark fantasy and grimdark and depressing stories that we've seen throughout the years. And I highlighted Evangelion and Children of Men as like my 2 major examples of like progenitors of, I use that word in the video before Fire Emblem made it cool. Do you guys know about that in Fire Emblem?
No,
Nope.
I do not.
Okay. They say progenitor a lot depending on a certain thing. But where was I? Oh yeah. So have you guys seen Children of Men?
I have not.
John, have you
Nope,
seen?
I have not.
It's a very good movie, which I recommend. It's basically the premise. It was made in 2006, I believe. Oh, who directed it? Oh no. Oh, I know who directed it. Alfonso Cuarón. He directed Roma. I believe it was Alfonso Cuarón. But he directed Roma. He directed Y Tu Mama Tambien. He's directed a lot of like super artsy fartsy movies. He's just a really good director in general. It takes place in a world where women no longer get pregnant. Basically,
Okay.
the last child was born, I think, like 17 or 18 years ago, and it's crazy because like there's lots of great lore dumps where people will on the news they broadcast notable deaths, but it's always very young people. Like it's extremely tragic when people like the world's youngest person passed away, and it was like a huge shocking moment for everyone because it's like, oh man, like the time is really ticking down for the human race in general. So it's just seeing like a physical like actual event where it's like you could feel the human race dying is really messed up and really emotionally impactful for a lot of people in this world. And basically the story really begins when the main character, whose name I forget, comes into contact with a woman who is pregnant. And so basically the entire premise of the film is, what do we do? Like, this woman is pregnant in a world where people just don't get pregnant. How do we go about this? You know, what ramifications does this have for not only the human race, but immediate society? Like, are people going to come after this child, this pregnant woman? Like, are people going to see her as a god? Are people going to see this as, like, a symbol of unity? What's going to go on here? So, Children of Men is ultimately kind of, not to give away the ending, but it ultimately is hopeful about people. I mean, it has some statements to say about, like, negative things to say about war and humanity, about how even in the most unifying of circumstances, people will still find ways to kill each other. But ultimately it ends on, like, there is hope for the world. This world specifically that's presented in the film. So
Okay.
that was why
this is
Children of Men.
Is it a movie?
Yeah, it's a film.
Okay. I wasn't.
It's a film,
I think I
not a
remember
movie.
I think I remember like the trailers when it came out when
It's
we were younger.
fantastic. I don't know if it's on Netflix or where it's at, but I really because there's some fantastic wonders in that movie where it's just like, how did they film all this in one shot? Like, what? They had to build like a camera rig for a car so they could spin a film camera around in a car so they could have this super long shot with like a chase scene in a car. And there's like doing stunts and like, oh man, it's crazy. And there's the best wonder in that film though is there's a battle scene toward the end, and it's just like, it is harrowing. There's a time when I put this shot in the video. So if you watch the Hope Punk video, you can find this shot. There's a shot when someone gets shot, and the squib. A squib is basically a thing that explodes blood, so it looks like someone got shot. Someone's squib, the blood from their squib gets on the camera, and what happened was that the director called cut right there. It's like, well, you got something on the camera, we gotta stop. But there was so much going on. There's so much chaos going on set because like things are, everything's in motion right now. It's so choreographed. It's like any deviation is just like super jarring. And so no one heard him, and everyone just kept going, and so they just kept rolling with the blood on the camera, and the blood stayed on the camera for the rest of that scene. Huh?
So it looked like blood splatter was like, it
It
on
was
the
like,
camera and you could see
yeah,
it.
it looked like Mom for Two when you get wounded.
Okay.
Like a little bit. But it was like, it was an unintentional effect, but it added to the feeling of harrowingness, whatever. Like it added to that weight to that scene where it's just like, holy crap, people are getting shot, so it ended up being a good thing for that film, and that's just a masterpiece of filmmaking. It's shot super
Interesting.
well. Oh god, everyone's
I'll
gotta
have
see
to look
that
into
movie.
it.
That's a bucket list movie right there, because it's amazing if you're watching it from just like a how did they make this perspective, but it's also just an amazing film in general. But yeah, that was one of my major examples. I didn't talk about it too much in the video because I did want to angle it more about Evangelion and Death Stranding. And I did talk quite a bit about Death Stranding. I think people were surprised about... I think people are often surprised when people think they know what's going on in Death Stranding, because the common meme is just like, Death Stranding, every time they release something about Death Stranding, it gets even more confusing. And I really just wanted a video that's just like, no, the answers are right there. You know, like, it's not that complicated. It's just that Kojima likes his technobabble, and it seems more complicated than it actually is, because... You know, like Metal Gear Solid, there's a lot of technobabble, but the story is ultimately about a specific theme.
Mm-hmm.
Nuke's bad.
Nuke's bad.
And so Death Stranding, I saw a similar thing happening with Death Stranding, where it's just like, yeah, there's all this technobabble, but the whole point of Death Stranding is just people good. You know, if Metal Gear Solid is just Nuke's bad, Death Stranding is just, hey, talk to each other. Like... You know, they straight up, like, there's a quote in one of the most recent trailers that's straight up just like, humanity can't exist if we live apart. We're made to connect with other people, and if we don't connect with other people, then we'll fail, or something like that. It's like, that's the thesis statement right there. That's what the game is about. It ain't that deep, fam. Right there. The internet just overthinks everything all the time. And, like, I just say this about so much stuff on the internet where it's just like, it ain't that deep, fam. Like, oh, I can't think of anything that comes, but like when people get their tinfoil hats out about something that happened in the gaming industry, like, oh, the reason they added this to the game was so they could, you know, cheat people out of this and do this and that. It's just like, it ain't that deep, fam. Maybe they just made a mistake. You know, or whatever. Like, maybe they were just experimenting. It's like, a lot of things just aren't that complicated. Some things are, but but when you look at Death Stranding, it's just like, the thesis statement is in the trailer. It's like, Death Stranding. What does Death Stranding mean? It's like, Troy Baker's character literally says, like, the Death Stranding, did you guys watch the Heartman introduction clip?
No, I kind of watched that last trailer, and then...
Yeah. I mean, I understand. Like, I thought about it too, but I was so curious about the Nicholas Winding Refn cameo. I'm just like, how are they going to do this? Because Nicholas Winding Refn is doing the performance capture, but not the voice acting. So, like, it's modeled after him, but, you know, he's not actually voicing his character.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, how is this going to fit at all? And I was actually surprised at how well it worked. It was a little uncanny because, like, I know that's not what he sounds like. I've watched Drive. I've watched Too Old to Die Young. I know Nicholas Winding Refn. Too Old to Die Young, by the way, is not great. I wasn't a huge fan, but he also refers to the Death Stranding as a past event, as like, oh, things changed after the Death Stranding. So it's like, yeah, you can kind of assume that the reason everything is as it is because of this cataclysmic event called the Death Stranding. You know, it's like, there it is. There's why the game's called Death Stranding. It's because something happened in the past that they just refer to as the Death Stranding. And it's probably why there's all these weird cables coming out from the earth and whatever. We're all stranded together. Dude, I'm so hyped for Death Stranding. Oh. Like, I don't care if it's just a glorified walking simulator. I just want to soak in that world. That E3 trailer from, I think, 2017, 2018. The one with all the walking around, basically. You know the one where he rips his toenail off?
Yeah, I think that was 2018.
Yeah, that trailer, like, a lot of people are like, oh, this game's just a walking simulator. But, I was like, oh my god, is this game just a walking simulator? I'm in. Because, like, when he's just walking through the environments and it's, like, raining and he's in an abandoned mall, I'm just like, oh my god, this is so aesthetically pleasing. My goodness. I need to play this. And so, like, almost the absence... And I think Kojima even said, like, I want this to be a game with action in it, but not necessarily an action game.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, sounds good to me, you know? And you even see in one of the recent trailers, like, there's shooting and stuff, you know? And I think he even said, like, you can go the game without shooting too much, maybe not even shooting at all. But, you know, if you want to, you can. And I'm just very interested to see. The one thing I don't know anything about, like, you can come to your own conclusions about what the story is actually about based on all the information that we've been given. But the thing that I'm most confused about is what he refers to as the social strand system, which is ironic because S3 is something that's in Metal Gear Solid 2, the solid snake simulation.
I was going to say, that sounded... Well, it's probably intentional, let's be honest.
And I don't know if it... Again, it ain't that deep, fam. But, like, you know...
But it's Kojima at the same time.
And it's like, it's Kojima doing something that's slightly coincidental to another Kojima project, so it's like, maybe it's not a total coincidence. But I'm just interested in what he refers to, like, what that's all about, because, what people have theorized... Because, like, they talked about how we want players in one game. We want players across the world to help each other, basically. And I think what might be happening is, like, there might be just, like, a scan. Like, there was something in the most recent trailer, I think there was, like, blue footprints or red footprints or something like that. And it's like, maybe you'll just come across an area and you hit, like, a scan button and it shows you, like, a bunch of different routes that other people have taken. And maybe, like, the blue footprints are the right route to take. So it's like, oh, the world worked in collaboration to find the right way to go, and now I know which way to go. Now I know how to navigate this situation, or something like that. Because in Death Stranding, when you die, it's not game over. It's not like you just respawn, but the world... It's a... persistent world, is what they would call it.
So when you die in the game, you don't die for real?
No. Well, like, when you die, I think they leave a crater behind.
Yeah, they do.
And so, like, you'll come back to that area, and it's just like, oh... There's just a crater here, so I guess that solves that problem, or something. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're gonna be some people's worlds that are just the entire map is just a bunch of craters. I wouldn't be surprised if some people just take it upon themselves to fill the entire map with craters, but knowing how crazy people get about Kojima games. But so like Keegan, you said that you're excited for Death Stranding, you plan on getting it, but you're not entirely sure if it'll be for you.
I did not say that.
Well, you said, like, I don't know, like, I'll get it because the hype, but I don't know if I'm gonna like it.
I said maybe. I don't know. I mean, my thing is I never played Kojima, any of Kojima's stuff. Never played Metal Gear. I know.
Mistake.
Floor.
I mean, Death Stranding, you know, from your guys' hype and everything like that, you know, it's on my radar. Like, I would like to play it because, you know.
It's going to be a big cultural event in game. Like, that's literally all Twitter's going to be for, like, a month when it comes out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have other stuff that, you know, I plan to play first. It'll be a game that I'll probably go to after a while. I mean, probably I'll see spoilers and stuff like that, and that doesn't bother me because if I get stuff spoiled for this, for me, I don't think it'll be too big of a problem.
I have a feeling Death Stranding spoilers are going to be so ridiculous, like, you won't even understand the context for them.
Exactly.
So it's like, I don't even know if this is important or not.
Yeah. It's going to be a game where I'm not going to get it right away because I've got...
could you repeat that?
Sorry. It's not a game that I'll be getting right away because I've got a couple other games that I'm more interested in at first, but it'll be a game of when, you know, you guys are playing it. John, are you getting it right away?
Yeah, I'll get it right away. You know, I'm hyped for it, but I wouldn't say it's like my most anticipated game or anything.
It's probably like the game of the year that I'm most excited for. But
yeah, and my thing is like, you know, for me, it's like I've got 3 big games coming out within the next couple of months that'll
Call of Duty, October,
COD, Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars! I totally forgot about Star Wars.
Yeah, which is the same month.
Oh, and Doom.
COD. I mean, Doom, I'm not interested.
But Doom Eternal, dude. Oh my.
I know.
God.
And then Pokemon in November.
Yeah. Pokemon, I don't know if that's gonna be a day one for me.
I mean, Pokemon will be a day one for me because, you know, I've always been a big fan of Pokemon, and I've always tried to play them day one, especially this being the first console one. But that'll be like I'll play that for a week or two, or however long it takes me to beat it. Yeah, it'll just be like, I'll beat it and I'll probably be done with Pokemon for a while. But
he meant to say actually good
I know,
Pokemon game for
mainline.
console.
yes,
mainline.
exactly.
Well. I guess that doesn't work either because XD and Coliseum are actually good. But
Anyway, it'll be a game to where it's like I'm gonna hear you guys hype it up enough. It'd be like, you seriously need to get it. You need to get it, and then it'll be something.
Could you repeat that?
Sorry, I don't know why it cut off.
You're cutting out.
I know, it's weird. It's gonna be a game where it's like you guys are gonna hype it up, and then you're gonna be like, okay, you seriously need to get this game. Like, you have to play it. Then I'll be like, okay, like I played, a bunch of these other games. I've beaten Star Wars. I've beaten Pokemon, COD. I'm this prestige already. Like, I've played enough to where it's like I can take a good break. It'll be that game.
Now
where
that
it'll
I'm
be like,
10th prestige, let's
yeah,
see what
exactly.
this Kojima thing's about.
It'll be like, all right, it's Christmas time. I can get it. I don't know.
Christmas noob and Death Stranding.
Yeah, it'll be a good because as you guys have, as we talked
Give you all the
about,
hot tips.
solo player or single player games. What even is the genre of
Death Stranding? It's
Yeah,
I would say it's basically going to be an open world, narrative driven open world sandbox exploration action game. Like he calls it, it's the world's first Strand game, but it's like. I would say it's going to be like Metal Gear Solid 5, but with less combat.
yeah.
And more exploration.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed single player open world games. Open world RPGs is my favorite genre, let alone RPGs in general. Which this isn't really. I don't really think, from what you guys have said, it's going to be RPG-ish, but it's going to.
5 had some RPG-ish stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of that stuff comes back in Death Stranding.
I'm not really
because it does
too
seem
focused.
like he really. Because he seems like he's really emphasizing progression in Death Stranding. He always talks about a rope and a stick for some reason.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if you start the game with just a spear and a rope or something.
Yeah.
And then by the end you have a machine gun and a
Exactly, but that could also be
grappling
you just pick it up and gain it later on. It's not
yeah,
like you're
yeah.
leveling
I don't know.
certain
We don't know what the
skills and
progression
stuff
is
like
going to be like yet.
Yeah, and that's what I'm not like. That's not what it's not why it's not calling to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a game where it's like I can really dive in, and Pokemon's going to take a week to beat. Star Wars will probably take a week to beat. Just with scheduling and whatnot, and COD will be playing till whenever, so that'll be nightly. To where this can be a good. How long's the campaign, or how long's the story?
Death Stranding.
Yes.
No clue. It's really hard to guess based on his other work because Metal Gear Solid 5 was maybe 30, 40, 50 hours to beat the main story and 200 if you want to 100% it, but his other games are 10 hour, it's or even less depending on how fast you can, it's really, there's no way to predict. I'm predicting maybe 30 hours. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, 20 to 30, I would say probably.
Nothing too crazy, but reasonable.
Yeah, which that'll be something that I can really do that'll be a getaway, I'll get it on a weekend and I'll text you guys and be like, hey, I just got Death Stranding, start playing it this weekend. I'll let you know my thoughts and stuff like that, to where it'll be I'll give it a once through, not gonna 100% it, don't really, 100%ing games isn't really my thing.
And per, every conversation that Wade seems to have, I'll just immediately say, man, I can't believe so-and-so died right away.
Yeah.
See, and that's going to be
I can't believe Norman Reedus just died. First scene. First scene in the game.
The protagonist died first scene in the game.
Cool.
Technically, that happens in
we've already
other
seen
things, and it's a flashback, but whatever.
We've already seen him in multiple scenes, so regardless, he's in.
Yeah.
Well, unless it's a non.
Unless you're playing through a flashback.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a non-linear narrative where he dies in the first scene, but the rest of the game is building up to that.
Like Grave of the Fireflies.
Well, let's not spoil Grave of the Fireflies.
Spoilers.
Well, whatever. Anyway, it'll be a game that I'll eventually. The first freaking line of the game or the anime is literally go watch it.
I've never seen it, therefore
it'll make you cry.
It doesn't matter. I sat in a pool of tears after I finished Grave of the Fireflies.
There's been few anime that have made me cry in Grave of the Fireflies.
You know what makes me cry?
What?
Getting spoiled.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh my god! Don't even start. Anyway, but yeah, it'll be a game where I'm looking forward to playing it. Not as much as you guys.
For me, it's if no other game, if I only had to buy one game this year, and I had to like forego everything else until like 2020, I would choose Death Stranding as the one game I buy this year.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
even joking.
it's just gonna be one of those
Kingdom Hearts
games.
3.
Oh, jeez.
Ew.
It's just gonna be one of those games to where, you know, I'm gonna be happy to pick it up and play through it. I'm gonna try and enjoy it and really think about it, you know, the way it is, because like you have said, it's really gonna have that hope punk aspect where it's.
I feel like it's the start of something. Like, regardless if it's all smoke and mirrors or like Kojima talking about Strand games, this is the world's first Strand game and whatever. I think regardless of any marketing or PR talk, I really do think this game is going to be the beginning of something new, something fresh. I think regardless of anything else, it's going to be something different and original and unique, which I think is arguably the most important part about it, regardless of whether or not people enjoy that or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the very least, it'll be a very original, creative work, which is why I'm really excited, because like Kojima, just like, he's very hit or miss for a lot of people, and he's just very hit for me. So that's why I'm like ride or die at this point.
Yeah, and that's the thing though too, is I could start playing it and be like, oh, this isn't my thing.
Yeah.
Too, because like it'll be his first.
That's what I was
work.
saying. Like, play Metal Gear Solid 5, and then you'll know. Like, at least play Ground Zeroes, and then you'll know. Like, okay, this guy's style. I like this style of storytelling.
Yeah,
I like this cinematic presentation.
I'm sure I will. I love very narrative heavy games, and you know, really
Metal Gear is as narrative heavy as it gets.
Yeah, that really focuses on story. You know, because I really like games to where, you know, gameplay can suck, or it can't be the best, but if you have a good narrative and good story element, I can be fully focused into that.
So like Metal Gear Solid's great because like everything's good.
Just never finish a Metal Gear Solid game at midnight, because you're going to be up until about 4 p.m.
Oh yeah, like the ending of Metal Gear Solid 4 is straight up like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Like, sweet. Up. Like
unless I plan on pulling an all-nighter.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, like, from the moment the final cutscene begins to it ends, till it ends, it's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Straight
and
up.
Especially
it's ridiculous.
I ended up finishing every Metal Gear Solid game at around like midnight or 1 a.m. and then just had to stay up until like the last.
Metal Gear Solid 2 gets nuts.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Metal Gear Solid 2, it's like an hour cutscene, and then it's a boss fight, and then it's like a 15-minute cutscene.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god.
It's good though.
Extend it. Oh, but
I mean, I mean, I'll take your guys' words for it, and I mean, I'll be
watch a playthrough
in the later end of it. I'm sure.
Just
wait,
watch,
you'll probably stream part of it, I would guess.
Death Stranding?
Yeah.
I mean, I usually don't stream story games.
That's true. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Dude,
also,
Battlefield 5 I've been getting back into. But
yeah, I'll get there eventually.
Like I said, just watch like a cutscene or movie version of a couple of the games. Play Ground Zeroes, I think, because you can't really experience a game at its fullest unless you actually play it. So I definitely recommend at least playing Ground Zeroes, because it gives you the idea of what Metal Gear Solid 5 is like, while also getting the story and cinematic presentation of, like, gives you a little peek into the mind of Kojima. Oh man, that ending of Ground Zeroes is like, that was actually controversial. It was legit controversial. It was one of those moments where it's like, can we show this? Can we actually can we do this in a game? So
yeah, watch that at like 1 in the morning.
Oh yeah, that's a great thing to go to bed with, that image.
Yeah, I was staying with a friend at the time, and I was like, "Hey, come into the room and watch this.
Watch this person get eviscerated."
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't want to end it on people getting eviscerated, but we've reached over an hour, and so I think it's time to end. We've had a good discussion about, I didn't want it to just be, all about the video. I just kind of wanted to have that video be a general, segue into a natural conversation about some of the themes in the video, about some of the works that I referenced in the video. I mean, I'm the one who I almost was like, well, but I'm the one who made the video. I could say I made the video. But
are you telling me that I didn't edit that video for like 100 hours?
Sorry to say, John, but I literally did all of it.
Oh, shoot.
Literally all of the work. I even
good-
made End of Evangelion specifically so I could reference End of Evangelion in my video. That's
Dude,
how much
good
work
job.
I put into that video.
Dang. And you were like, what, 5 when it ended?
I would have been like 1 or 2 when End of
thought it
Evangelion
was-
came out.
Oh, yeah, it was like 90.
It was like 97 or 98. But yeah, this has been episode 5 of RP Radio, a weekly podcast where me and my friends talk about games and stuff. Things might be even a little different next week. There might be a little rebranding going on to fit the new structure, depending on how people take to it. But I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Hope the new structure. I actually enjoyed using videos as an analog to have just a natural conversation about stuff. You guys enjoy that? Be honest.
It was good.
Be honest.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
different.
it's a good switch from talking about Fire Emblem like we've
I
done
thought
for the
I
past
thought the
month.
conversation flowed a little more naturally, personally, but
Yeah.
But that's enough from us. I hope you had a good time listening. I hope you come back next week. I hope you watch my next video that's coming up this week. Have a good one, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.